paper for it. And I guess that would sort of be sort of where we start. You know, the reporters were trying to talk to you about this. There's a couple different incidents, and you guys weren't able to comment. Can you kind of explain a little bit why you've had to be reluctant to say anything about it?
Well, first of all, we've got several lawsuits that have been filed against the city. That puts me in a position that anything that I would say could possibly be used in those lawsuits. And so the best thing to do is not to make any comments with regards to that. With regards to any investigations, we can't make comments with regards to investigation. Can't confirm whether we're doing an investigation. We can't say we're not doing an investigation. I'm put in a position where I really can't say anything. Now, you know, I've tried to operate on a professional basis, and I think that we have been very, very responsive to the press. It is not professional to come chasing me down the hallway like a mob. I mean, you know, people that want to do this on a professional basis, we're more than happy to do that.
Do you have any regrets with the slamming the door
Well, first
incident?
of all, I would point out that that door is a secured door. You have to have a code to go through it, so that if you go through it, you got a problem in terms of getting back.
Why not just kind of stop and sort of say to me now what you last night? Why
Because it wouldn't have been that way. It was going to be a badgering type of thing, and I'm just not going to do that. I mean, when people want to act professionally, I have no problem with that. I don't think anybody from the press has any complaints in terms of us responding to the press, going on shows, answering questions. That was not a professional situation last night. And, you know, people aren't going to handle it in a professional way. I'm not going to talk to them.
Those types of situations do happen in other areas. They happen at the Capitol. I know a lot of reporters are going to say that they do that stuff all the time with other public officials.
They may do that all the time. They don't do that in city government. I mean, the people that we have that have covered us generally are doing it on a very professional basis, and we have responded in that same way.
Can you sort of possibly explain to people why some of these records still exist if they were, in fact, shredded? I think that's what people were a little bit surprised about. I don't know if you can say.
We do not have records.
Okay.
So if someone has records, then the real question would be, how did they get those records?
Was there ever
That's all I'm going to say about
Okay.
About that. We do not have any records. So records did not come from us. We have not released any records.
Is there going to be investigation into who a whistleblower is?
Again, you're getting into an area that we can't make comments on.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to try this again. When they said that, are the internal affairs records, are they also kept electronically? That's always the part that I was a little bit confused by, was when they said they shred them, I thought they always scan documents in, and they just got rid of paper files maybe, but they actually always had electronic backups. Do you?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, so you think there just was that copy and then?
I think that there was the copies, well, there were discs that were kept, but they were also cut.
Do you think any of the other internal affairs records are still out there? Are you worried about other stuff coming to light?
First of all, I don't know how they got their hands on that, or who had those.
Okay. And can you?
But it's not the city.
Okay. And can you say if there should be if you think there should be an investigation into how those were exposed?
I'm not going to make
Can't comment either way.
Okay. And why can't you say if you're going to investigate, if there should be a leak or not? I guess I don't understand why that.
You're not going to confirm that there is an investigation. You're not going to say there's not an investigation.
Okay. Uh, is the chief of police, Robert Williams, are you expecting him to make any comments about this or come out?
He's basically in the same situation that I'm in. I mean, there really is not much that anybody can say, given the litigation that's taking place. Now, keep in mind, and let's not forget this.
Okay.
We originally sent a letter to the Attorney General's office asking for an investigation. They indicated that they would not do it. It was the jurisdiction of the state's attorney's office. State's attorney said that he would have a conflict of interest, so he turned it over to the state appellate prosecutor's office. They have brought in the state police. There is an investigation that is taking place to see exactly what happened. And I think that what we need to do is to wait to see what the results of that investigation is, as opposed to trying to deal with rumors, innuendo, and those types of things. There is an investigation that is taking place. And I anticipate that once we have the results of that investigation, we would then be in a position, based on a factual investigation, to take those results and then determine what needs to be done.
Okay, so it sounds like once that is done, you'll be able to comment a little bit more in the future.
Well, I would think that when the investigation is done, we would then take the results of that investigation and then determine what needs to be done at that point. It's not a matter of making a determination of what needs to be done today.
Okay, and that kind of leads me into the next one. I think you kind of touched on it. I had a story in today's paper about Frank Edwards thinking that he feels like he should ask Chief Williams and Chief Busher to step aside, sort of in the wake of this, in fear of whistleblowers and not be able to come forward to expose their bosses. Do you believe in what? Do you side with what Frank Edwards said, or would you rather wait, like what you said?
So I would point out that the state police is currently investigating this situation. If there are whistleblowers, they would not be coming to the Springfield Police Department. They would be going to the state police. So I don't think we are preventing any whistleblowers from stepping forward. In terms of the job that both Chief Williams and Deputy Chief Busher has done, and in terms of looking at their records, I mean, Chief Williams has about 27 years with the police department. He's never had a disciplinary problem. Busher, in the time that I have been here, has not any problems. I really believe that he has done an outstanding job in terms of trying to turn the Criminal Investigation Division around. Now, I wasn't around 5 years ago when this happened.
Because both Chief Williams and Busher were in their positions before you came there, right?
That is correct.
Right. Okay.
And what we chose to do is, rather than come in and just make changes, to take a look and see what kind of jobs people were doing. And as long as they were doing the jobs properly, then they can continue to do the jobs. And so as I look at Chief Busher, he has done a very good job. I mean, I can't criticize anything that he has done in the time that I have been here. I am aware of the situation that existed before as a result of media coverage that it was given. I've never seen the files. I've never looked into it. He was demoted. He was given a 30-day suspension. I wasn't involved in making those decisions. If I had all the information and I was in charge at that time, I can't tell you what type of decision I would have made. But the reality was he was disciplined and punished as a result of that incident. When I walked in here, as far as I'm concerned, everybody starts on a level playing field, and it's a question of how are they going to perform moving forward.
And just so I'm clear, it sounds like from everything you're saying that you stand behind Chief Williams and Chief Busher at this time until the investigation.
In terms of dealing with the overall job that they are doing within the chief in terms of the overall job he has done with the
Yeah.
department, and Chief Busher with regards to the Criminal Investigation Division. They have both done good jobs.
Okay. So no plans to move. They're staying in their current positions, right?
I stand by what I
Yes.
said.
Okay. What about the public information? Busher handles a lot of public information. Do you feel like there's kind of a conflict when he has to deal with media, and we sort of have this sort of cloud hanging over it? Is Chief Busher going to remain in sort of dealing with public information? Has there ever been any?
There's been no decision with regards to that.
Okay. And then,
Certainly, if he is uncomfortable with it,
but yet
that
he hasn't come to you.
He hasn't indicated that he is uncomfortable in terms of doing that. And again, if you look at the job he does,
Mm-hmm.
he's done, I think, an excellent job in terms of doing that. When we have something major happening within the department, typically the Criminal Investigation Division comes in, he comes in. It doesn't make any difference what day out of the 7 days a week it is. It doesn't make any difference what hour out of the 24-hour day it is. He comes in. He has the best information and is really the best person to be able to give the press and then ultimately the general public information on what's going on, as opposed to somebody like Nathan
Yeah.
trying to gather information and present it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like maybe you could have done more to support Busher early on? It didn't seem like there was a whole lot of people standing up for him from my interpretation from this early on. Do you have any regrets in that, or do you disagree with my characterization of?
I would disagree with your characterization.
Okay.
I don't know that. Personally, I thought we were very supportive of both the chief
Okay.
and Chief Busher.
Okay. You touched on this. You said the internal. Trying to be clear, how much of you knew about Busher's past. I know it was reported in the State Journal Register. Did you know the level of detail that was aired Monday night?
Oh, certainly not. How would I have known?
Okay.
Known that? I mean,
Okay.
I know what was the media coverage at the time.
Okay.
I mean, so if it was in the paper, or it was on the radio, or if it was on TV, yes, I was aware that the situation took place. I knew it took place in Missouri.
Yeah.
I know that there were charges filed. Beyond that, I mean, I pay more attention to city government before I was elected than probably the average person. But I mean, I had no reason to have any specific knowledge of it.
And just what was
probably any more than Frank Edwards would have had as a sitting alderman during the time that this actually happened.
Mm-hmm. And what was just sort of your reaction to the piece? Or your feelings on it? Be disappointed? Did you? What were sort of some of the thoughts that you have? I don't know, when you saw it.
I think that in conversations that I've had with Chief Busher, that he is a changed person as a result of the incident that took place. Certainly, alcohol played a major part in the situation. He has indicated that he has not had a drink since then. I have no reason to believe otherwise. If you look at him from a physical condition, he is in much better shape than what he was 5 years ago. I think that in conversations that I've had with him, he is a much different family man than what he was 5 years ago. I think that it was a wake-up call for him, and that, again, I didn't put him into the position that he was in. He literally had to work his way back to that position.
Sure.
I'm making an assumption, And that assumption is that it was a very difficult thing to do, and that the only reason that he was able to move back is because he did an excellent job. And certainly in the 2 years that I've been here, he has done an excellent job in terms of being the deputy chief for the Criminal Investigations Division.
Do you think Busher's police file was one of the intentionally shredded?
That's a question that, if I answered that, that would certainly have an impact on legal action that is being taken.
Do you think all of everything that's sort of happened in the past 2 weeks and everything that's sort of come to light has called into integrity, the Springfield Police Department's integrity? Is it called into question?
You know, we have what I think is a very good police department.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, we have a very dedicated group of men and women that serve the general public. Every day they go out on the streets, they're putting their life on the line. They are committed to doing a good job. And I think that what people have to do is to take a look at the overall situation in terms of what has happened with the police department. Not just a matter of something that happened 5 years ago, or a matter of the shredding of some
Mm-hmm.
documents. It's a question of how has the police department done over the last 2+ years. And I think that we've made progress in terms of improving the department, professionalizing the department, and operating the department during a very, very difficult period of time, both in terms of criminal activity and violence.
How do you work on, repairing the public trust in the sense, because some say that maybe it's been broken? Is there some efforts that can be made to, maybe through transparency? I don't know.
Well, let's wait
Mm-hmm.
to see what the results of the investigation is before we jump to conclusions as to what the results are going to be. There are going to be results from the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just wait to see what those results are.
And then I think you've addressed this before, but Busher's name has been thrown around as a replacement for Chief Williams. Can you kind of address that? I don't think there's a lot of stuff out there about Chief Williams possibly retiring or something. Can you kind of just address that? I think
I'm not sure what you want me to address.
Whether or not Chief Williams would be retiring. I think you said before that there's been no indications of that, and that Busher would be his replacement. I haven't reported on this as much as other people have.
Well, if you're asking me a question that is this a direct result
There's
of
been
people thinking that Williams is going to retire,
Yeah.
and that Busher will take his place, the answer to that question is yes, I do believe it is a direct result
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Okay.
If that is what you're asking.
But Chief Williams has never indicated to you that he had any plans?
No, but he will have both his age, and he has more than enough years to retire.
Yeah.
When he turns 50, which will be in October of this year.
Okay. And that's kind of where you
And
think
I think that's where
this whole thing came from, was right, because of people viewing that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we covered a lot.
There are a lot of moving parts to this.
Yeah.
And it is not simple.
Mm-hmm. So the main thing from here on out is you're waiting until the investigation is complete.
I think that is the fair thing.
Mm-hmm.
To do.
And at that point, you'll make a decision about.
Depending upon what the results of the investigation are, then we'll take steps if steps are necessary to be taken.
Okay. Mm-hmm.